It's one of those sequels that's been rumored for years, Goonies 2. The latest surge of Goonies hype happened in 2014 when director Richard Donner confirmed that the long-awaited sequel was indeed going ahead, but so far, nothing. Unfortunately for Goonies everywhere, a sequel becomes increasingly unlikely with every passing year. Here's why we never got to see the Goonies 2. The scripts have sucked. In 2009, Empire magazine conducted an interview with all of the original Goonies, as well as director Richard Donner and producer Steven Spielberg, and naturally, the interview soon turned to talk of a sequel. Donner was quick to blame the lack of a decent screenplay for the film's constant stalling, telling Empire that he and Spielberg had spent a lot of energy hunting for a good script, and that the duo had many meetings with writers, but nothing stuck. Cast member and weird modern vampire Corey Feldman was more positive about the prospect of a second Goonies outing, though Donner didn't share his enthusiasm, stating there was no hope of it going ahead at that stage. Even Feldman, who doesn't have much going on right now except for whatever this is, knows that Goonies 2 is a dangerous game to play, saying, "It could have a very bad backlash." At the end of the day, and I've said this before, the only way a Goonies sequel happens and is forgivable to the fan base is if it is done right. Feldman and co-star Sean Astin even wrote a sequel themselves and presented it to Richard Donner, but were told that their ideas were too expensive. Considering how much cash goes into blockbusters today, and the fact that animated prosthetics and a giant pirate ship weren't too cost-prohibitive for the original, it's hard to imagine what Feldman and Astin turned in that was deemed too extravagant. But either way, Astin is game.
Yes or no, Goonies sequel?
Someday, I hope.
You in?
If they want me.
All right. Yes, yes, yes.
And everyone knows an angry Al Roker will not be denied.
Spielberg! Get on it! Make the Goonies 2!
Producer Frank Marshall has gone on record as saying that he won't make a sequel just for the sake of doing it, insisting that the story has to be right before the film can go ahead to avoid disappointing fans. Ironically, fans ended up being disappointed by another one of his comments. A reboot instead? Picture this. A bunch of middle-aged Goonies have lost touch with what it means to be a member of the team, leaving their children to revive their never-say-die attitude and take them on a new adventure. It writes itself, right? Frank Marshall doesn't quite see it that way. The producer revealed that any new Goonies project would not actually be a sequel, but a film made in the Amblin spirit of Goonies. So, unfortunately for those hoping for a continuation of the story, the idea of a complete reboot has been supported by the writer of the original movie, Chris Columbus. Despite previously stating that the only way the film could be done was with the original kids as parents, Columbus has since changed his tune, confirming that he's currently on a full nostalgia attack and actively involved in reboots of both The Goonies and Gremlins.
Look, there are a lot of writers who are interested in writing Goonies, but the problem is that we're very protective because it's such a well-loved movie. The same goes for Gremlins. Gremlins is a little easier
because that worked out so well for Ghostbusters. Richard Donner is getting older. As someone who's keen to see this long-awaited sequel eventually happen, Feldman has raised fears that the project is very much time-sensitive, saying, "Richard Donner is 87 years old, and it's like no one really wants to make it without him. He's the driving force behind it. He says it's still alive." But as we all know, when you get to that age, things slow down quite a bit. There is a big possibility that he might not want to keep driving it. Feldman went on to explain that Goonies 2 just wouldn't happen without Donner in the director's chair, adding that every day that passes without the wheels in motion takes us a day closer to it never happening. Chunk out. Even if Goonies 2 is a sequel, they would have been forced to do it without one of the most loved of all the Goonies. Jeff Cohen, the former child actor who played Chunk, nixed the idea of returning, claiming that his new career as an entertainment attorney and author is too good to give up, even if he does remember his acting days fondly.
Anybody who says they intentionally give up acting is lying. They're absolutely lying. I loved being a kid actor. It was great. But, for me, I look different. I was evolving from chunk to hunk that I am today.
Cohen has become one of the go-to attorneys in Hollywood, has written a book called The Dealmaker's 10 Commandments, and the ex-Goonie also occasionally writes about legal and political matters for CNBC. So he probably doesn't have enough time to do the old truffle shuffle anymore. Goonies go off-Broadway. Evidently fed up with waiting for a sequel to be greenlit, Donner went ahead and made alternate arrangements to bring the Goonies back to life. In 2015, the director announced that he was creating an off-Broadway immersive production of the Goonies. He outlined his vision to Yahoo Movies, explaining, "There's no seats. The venue is, you go into a warehouse and there's something happening in that warehouse, and that's the play you've come to see. Only you become part of it and you travel through with actors." The Goonies play has yet to materialize, with no details to speak of. Donner was adamant that the show would soon be a reality, however, and while this would surely be an unforgettable experience for any Goonies fan, Donner focusing on this project means Goonies 2 is as far off now as it's ever been. The closest we'll ever get is a notoriously weird Nintendo game. But never say die, right?
Don't say that! Never say that! Goonies never say die!
Thanks for watching! Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.